The West Philippine Sea is more than just a body of water, it is a flashpoint, a place where international law meets national ambition. For years, the world has watched this region with bated breath. China claims nearly all of it. Its 9-line is a sweeping, controversial claim. It overlaps with the exclusive economic zones of several nations. The Philippines is one of them. This is not just about fishing rights or underwater resources, it is about sovereignty, a right affirmed by international tribunals. The tension here is a palpable force, a constant hum beneath the surface of the waves. Today is August 24, 2025. The situation has reached a critical juncture. The constant presence of Chinese Coast Guard vessels and maritime militia has become a daily reality for Filipino fishermen. They are often harassed, their livelihoods are threatened. The international community has issued statements. They have called for peace and adherence to the rule of law, but words often feel hollow in the face of steel hulls and water cannons. The Philippines, a nation with a deep maritime history, found itself in a precarious position. It was David facing a Goliath armed with a modern, massive fleet. The encounter began like many others, a routine resupply mission to the BRP Sierra Madre. This grounded, rusting ship on Ayungin Shoal is a symbol. It is a lonely outpost of Philippine sovereignty. China views it as an illegal occupation. Its vessels routinely block or harass Filipino boats trying to reach it. On this particular day, the Chinese Coast Guard was out in force. Their large, white-hulled ships moved to intercept the smaller Philippine vessels. It was a familiar scene, a scene of intimidation. But this time, something was different. The Philippine convoy did not back down. It did not alter its course in the face of overwhelming size. The Philippine Navy escort vessels, smaller and more agile, executed a series of brilliant maneuvers. They acted as shields for the supply boats. They darted between the massive Chinese ships. It was a display of exceptional seamanship. The climax of the encounter was a moment of pure audacity. As a Chinese ship attempted to block the final approach to the Sierra Madre, a Philippine patrol boat held its ground. The two vessels were dangerously close. A collision seemed imminent. Yet the Filipino crew did not flinch. They communicated their legal right to be there. They warned the Chinese vessel against any further provocative actions. Ultimately, the resupply mission was successful. The small supply boats reached the BRP Sierra Madre, delivering crucial provisions to the Marines stationed there. What happened next sent shockwaves across the globe. By documenting and swiftly disseminating evidence of China's aggression and their own professional conduct, the Philippines seized control of the narrative. It demonstrated a new level of resolve from the Philippines. It showed that Manila was willing to accept risks to defend its sovereign rights. The encounter was not just a naval operation, it was a masterclass in public diplomacy. Beijing was caught completely off guard. China's long-running gray zone tactics in the West Philippine Sea, using its coast guard to intimidate, using maritime militia to coerce, operating just below the threshold of war, these shadow tactics normalized Chinese presence and extended control over disputed areas. Beijing expected routine diplomatic protests from Manila. They underestimated the resolve of the current administration and the determination of military leadership. They failed to appreciate Bayanihan, communal unity. The West Philippine Sea issue had galvanized the Filipino people. It transcended politics and united citizens. China discounted the Philippines' transparency strategy, equipping vessels with high-definition cameras and committing to release encounter footage almost immediately changed the rules of the game. Suddenly, China, used to operating in the shadows, faced global exposure. Their plausible deniability was stripped away. The recent success of the Philippine Navy is not just about bravery, it is also about smart strategy and the clever use of new technology. The acquisition of smaller, faster, and more maneuverable patrol vessels has been a game-changer. These ships can operate in shallower waters and outmaneuver larger Chinese ships. They act as nimble escorts, weaving through blockades and creating openings for resupply missions, as seen at Ayungin Shoal. Technology has become a critical force multiplier. High-resolution, long-range cameras and satellite communications let them stream real-time video back to Naval HQ and to the public. Every vessel becomes a mobile broadcasting station. Countering disinformation and controlling the narrative is now part of deterrence. Joint operations between the Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard create a cohesive defense posture. That synergy stretches limited resources and signals professionalism. This combination of technology, tactics, and transparency is something Beijing apparently underestimated. At the heart of these encounters are the Filipino sailors themselves. Their actions have been described as nothing short of heroic. On the decks of these small patrol boats, facing down vessels many times their size, these men and women have shown extraordinary courage. Eyewitness accounts and video footage reveal crews standing calmly on deck, upholding maritime protocols even as water cannons are fired at them. This professionalism under fire is the result of intensive training focused on de-escalation and strict rules of engagement. They maintain composure under extreme duress. Interviews with sailors reveal a powerful motivation. They see themselves as custodians of their nation's heritage and future. This is our water. We are here for our fishermen, for our children, one young officer said. The leadership on the ground, from captains to empowered junior officers, deserves special credit. They make critical decisions in real time and execute calculated maneuvers. These actions are incredibly dangerous. A slight miscalculation could lead to collision, international incident, or potential loss of life. The reaction from Beijing was swift and furious. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokespeople condemned the Philippine actions as provocative and a violation of China's sovereignty. State-controlled media broadcast edited footage portraying Philippine vessels as the aggressors. They accused Manila of being a pawn of the United States and of recklessly endangering peace. This angry response betrayed surprise and frustration. In contrast, Washington's reaction was firm support. The United States reaffirmed its mutual defense commitments, stating an armed attack on Philippine public vessels or aircraft would invoke treaty obligations. This backing provided a crucial security umbrella. The international community largely sided with the Philippines and called on China to respect the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling. For many, this is about preserving a rules-based order. Responses within ASEAN were varied but telling. Some remained quiet, others offered subtle support. The incident has forced a recalculation within ASEAN. It demonstrated an alternative to quiet acquiescence, transparency-focused defense, potentially inspiring other claimant states to adopt similar strategies. The Philippines' miscalculation by China was profound. To understand today's tensions, one must look back. The dispute is not new, it is rooted in centuries of history. For the Philippines, its connection to these waters is ancient. Filipino fishermen have sailed these seas for generations, long before modern territorial lines were drawn. The name West Philippine Sea itself is a recent assertion, a linguistic and political statement claiming ownership over maritime space Filipinos consider their backyard. China's claim, embodied by the 9-dash line, traces back to a 1947 map and historical assertions Beijing holds as foundational. In 1995, China occupied Mischief Reef, well within the Philippines' EEZ. Over time, small incremental actions transformed reefs into militarized features, a salami-slicing strategy. In 1999, the BRP Sierra Madre was grounded on Ayungin Shoal as a desperate move to create a physical marker of Philippine sovereignty. The historical context is one of a growing power imbalance. As China's economy and military grew, its actions in the West Philippine Sea became more assertive. The Philippines struggled with limited resources and often adopted accommodation to preserve economic ties. That history of perceived passivity is why the current assertive strategy is so significant. It represents a clear break from the past, a decision that accommodation has failed, and a more courageous path must be forged to protect what remains of its maritime domain. That historical connection fuels the deep national sentiment behind the current standoff. For the people on these shores, this is personal. The events unfolding in the West Philippine Sea have profound global implications. This is not merely a regional squabble over fishing grounds. At its core, this is a test case for the international system. The question, will disputes be settled by established laws and arbitration or by might makes right? Over 1/3 of global shipping, valued at more than $3 trillion annually, passes through the South China Sea. Any conflict or prolonged tension could disrupt supply chains and global markets. Shortages, inflation, and economic instability could ripple across Europe and North America. This standoff is a barometer of U.S.-China competition. The Philippines is a treaty ally. Washington's response measures American credibility. A strong, steady show of international support reinforces deterrence. Joint patrols and exercises raise the costs of coercion. By combining the 2016 Arbitral Award, military modernization, public diplomacy, and transparency, the Philippines has created a template for asymmetric resistance smaller nations can study and adapt. Looking ahead, the Philippines has drawn a line in the water. Having demonstrated resolve, it is unlikely to back down. Resupply missions and patrols will continue, each a high-stakes test. China may double down with more and larger vessels, use electronic jamming or acoustic devices, increasing the risk of miscalculation. Sustained diplomatic support, joint patrols, military exercises, and economic pressure are tools the international community can use to raise the costs of coercion and make law and dialogue preferable to confrontation. This is more than ships at sea. It's about national will, sovereignty, and justice. The brave sailors of the Philippines have made their choice. The next chapter is unwritten. It could lead to a stable, rules-based order or descend into conflict. The outcome depends on choices by Manila, Beijing, Washington, Brussels, and other world capitals. Now, the world must make its own.